Hey everyone, my name is Matt Pinkard. Mental health is a very important part of the Christian life, and it's an issue that I think we need to shine a spotlight on during this COVID-19 crisis, this pandemic that is going on as I'm recording this in April of 2020. I want to talk to you about a book that I want to recommend called Christians Get Depressed Too by David Murray. It's a small book from Reformation Heritage Books. I want to show you quickly the table of contents. This book was written 10 years ago, but I think that there are still a lot of good nuggets of truth that this book has to offer us. And because of its cheap price point and its readability, it's very accessible for regardless of whether or not you read theology or not. It's a very simple book to understand, and I think all Christians should read books like this because either you struggle with depression or someone you know probably struggles with depression. Maybe it's someone in your church or family or friends or a coworker. Could be a Christian, could be a non-Christian. Depression is a very real mental health reality. And what I appreciate about this book by David Murray is his attempt to bring a balanced perspective to this. I've definitely heard some Christians who would fall on the side of blaming all depression on science, on chemical imbalances and issues like that, in the same way that you would blame maybe a heart defect or cancer on a scientific cause. And then on the other side, there are some Christians who would blame all depression on sin. Like, if you have any kind of depression struggle, it all has to be related to sin in your life, maybe sin you're not repenting of, or someone else's sin that's grieving you, or whatever. And I think David Murray does a really good job of trying to find a balanced approach to understanding that, first of all, our brains are incredibly complicated. And what is going on there with the combination of the emotional, the spiritual, the psychological, the physical is, honestly, it's more deep than any of us can fully fathom. But I think Dr. Murray does a great job of wrestling with Scripture and what Scripture has to say about depression and relating it to science, of course, and helping us to have a more balanced understanding of this issue. We definitely don't want to be like Job's friends who, at the beginning, they were just doing presence ministry, right? They grieved alongside of Job and they didn't say anything for like a week or so. But then when they opened their mouths, a lot of what came out was actually very unhelpful. And I think, sadly, this is true for many of us who are even well-meaning Christians can often say things, and I myself am guilty of this too, of trying to say a word of encouragement or counsel, but I actually may have said something that was actually more hurtful to that person. And so this book is really helpful if you are struggling with depression. It's got nice short chapters, really good nuggets of scripture and illustrations that you can read and digest, because as a depressed person, you're not going to want to sit down and read a 300 or 400 page long treatise, a PhD going through the ins and outs, the academic understanding of depression, right? And for those of you who know people who are struggling with depression, or maybe you don't yet, but you may in the future, maybe yourself or someone you know will struggle with depression, this book will help equip you to be ready for that. So there's a lot more I could say about the book. I'm going to be making a series of videos about mental health in the Christian life, and there will definitely be a lot of truth that I glean from this book that will go into that series. And I will also say too, if you apply a lot of the truth in this book to anxiety and post-traumatic stress and trauma and such, there are some helpful insights to glean from this book for that, but it is in particular helpful for depression. And so I highly commend this book to you. That is Christians Get Depressed Too by David Murray. Thanks so much for watching. God bless.